Welcome back to my channel where we do daily Bible devotion. There is a painful truth we must accept, and it is this: wounds from friends are more valuable than kisses from enemies. Today we are going to look at why that is so, and I want you to notice how that even sounds like a proverb. It has that ring to it. They try to disguise that pain as something else. There's a better option for us, and that is to embrace the wounds from a friend. Proverbs 27:6 says that wounds from a friend are actually something we should trust. And that's because most true friends have what's called tough love. What is tough love? Well, tough love is when someone loves you enough, when someone cares about you enough, that they will risk hurting you in the short term. One day a strong wind comes along, and when that wind hits you, it causes you to bend over. And if you resist that wind, if you fight that wind, you break. But when you embrace the wind, when you flow with the wind, when you allow the wind to cause you to bend, you actually end up becoming stronger and more flexible and more resilient. In the same way, my friend, the wounds we experience from friends are nothing more than opportunities for us to become stronger and more flexible and more resilient. So the choice is yours. Will you reject the wind and harden your heart, or will you embrace the wind and become stronger for it, in hopes that you will grow and be better for it in the long term? So what should we do when a friend wounds us? We should embrace it. We should receive the wound from a friend and allow it to heal. And part of growing is experiencing discomfort. If you have a friend like that, then run away from them as fast as you can. The Bible tells us to flee from such people, to turn away from such people. In other words, cut them out of your life as quickly as possible. Think of the person in your life who loves you the most, who cares about you the deepest, who wants the best for you. Who is that person? If that's a parent, if that's a spouse, if that's a close friend, I can promise you this: they have probably done or said things to you that have caused you pain. Perhaps they've corrected you when you were wrong, challenged you to become more, confronted you about something that needed to be addressed. Maybe they've given you an honest opinion about something you were doing that was destructive or damaging to yourself or to others. Whatever the case, they probably did or said something that wounded you, but it was only because they cared about you enough to confront you. So my encouragement to you today is this: when you experience a wound from a friend, when someone you care about says or does something that causes you pain, instead of rejecting it, instead of fighting it, instead of blocking it out, why don't you embrace it? Allow that wound to heal, because I promise you, you will be stronger and better for it. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy's kiss is deceitful. What I love about that verse is that it acknowledges two realities. First, that friends will hurt us, but second, that their wounds are actually good for us. But what does that mean? To answer that question, let's talk about the wound from a friend. For example, I think the first thing we need to understand is that friends will hurt us in one of two ways, either through commission or omission. In other words, either they will hurt us on purpose or they will hurt us accidentally. Look at the story of Elisha, the prophet. Elisha was surrounded by 50 of his disciples, and a chariot came racing toward them. And in order to protect his students, Elisha said, "Look, an iron axe head falls into the water." Then he said to the man of God, "Lend me your bow." So when he had borrowed the bow, he put it in his hand and drew back the string, letting the arrow fly. He hit the iron axe head, which floated on the surface of the water, and it sank. Then he said, "Take it up for yourself." And he reached out his hand and took the axe head out of the water. So the student asked him, "Elisha, why did you shoot me?" Elisha replied, "Because I knew that you were the king of Israel's son. Therefore arise, go back, for surely you will escape the edge of the sword." Here we see that Elisha unintentionally caused one of his students to bleed. And I'm sure in that moment Elisha felt terrible. He didn't do it on purpose. He simply thought he was protecting his student. But sometimes friends hurt us on purpose. And that brings us to the third point. Maybe they may tell you, "I never liked you anyway. You're a loser. You're a nobody. You'll never amount to anything," right? So sometimes the enemy's kiss is that they will try to poison our minds against ourselves, whispering lies and half-truths and planting seeds of self-doubt in us. Sometimes the kiss of an enemy comes disguised as indifference. The enemy will plant people in our lives who are just sort of indifferent to us. They don't seem to care whether or not we live or die. They don't seem to care if we succeed or fail. and in the process of being indifferent, they actually harm us, because what that does is it communicates that we are unimportant, that we don't matter. It also breaks our hearts because we find it so difficult to connect with people who couldn't care less about us. Sometimes the kiss of an enemy comes disguised as dismissiveness. People can be dismissive toward us, meaning they write us off, they brush us aside, ignore us, and in the process, they communicate that we are insignificant, that our opinions don't matter, that our feelings aren't important, that our presence is unwelcome. And that is one of the worst ways the enemy can treat us, because it leaves us feeling insignificant and worthless. Wounds from friends are more valuable than kisses from enemies. Now, before we get into the deep stuff, I just want to make sure that you know I love you guys. The kiss of an enemy. What is that like? Well, think of the story of Joseph being sold into slavery by his brothers. When they come to reconcile with him after many years, they say, "We are your brothers, whom you have sold into Egypt." Now look, we are in trouble, and our father is old, and he treated us harshly as regards his long life. For he loved Jacob more than us. Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by, and he cried, "Set everyone out, and do not let anyone stay here." While Joseph is telling them what he is. And so Joseph sent them all out, until only he and his brothers were left. And now Joseph began to weep. In that moment, they came to Joseph with apologies and excuses and justifications. They basically said, "Look, we're sorry that we did what we did. But it's because we hated Jacob and we wanted to kill you because he got the favorite son status. You see? We were jealous and we didn't like the way Dad showed favoritism toward you." So they tried to justify their actions by saying, "See, our intentions were pure. We weren't trying to hurt you. We were just angry with Dad. So we did what we did." That's what I call the kiss of an enemy. Okay, that's really important for you to hear me say that because I'm about to share some hard truths with you. But that's coming from a place of deep love and care. So hang with me here. Now, when it comes to understanding this idea, there's really 3 points we have to explore. 1. The kiss of an enemy. 2. The wound from a friend. And then number 3, how to embrace the wound from a friend. Let's dive in. 1. So often when someone hurts us, how should we handle the wound from a friend? How should we handle it? Well, here's the beautiful thing. In the same way, sometimes the wounds we experience from friends are nothing more than opportunities for us to grow. As a side note, there is such a thing as a toxic friend, someone who is consistently causing you pain, actively trying to damage you, someone who is trying to steal, kill, and destroy. Let me leave you with this. Imagine you are a young sapling, a little tree planted next to a river, and you begin to grow. I hope this video is a blessing to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. God's own.